All right, guys, we're here. Derick Legg podcast, first guest. I'm stoked. I think what we're gonna call this area is we're in the vault. So we're in the vault. I'm here with a really, really good friend of mine. We've known each other personally, for
a few years, yeah,
3-4 years. This is Tyler Campbell.
Good to be here. Good to talk to you. We've talked many times, but it's kind of fun to be here with you.
When I've thought about doing this, we've had a lot of deep conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
And ranging from guns, hunting, family, kids, dads, everything. So
all kinds of topics, politics,
little Corona,
crazy dads. Yeah.
So why don't you just give a little rundown?
Yeah.
Give a little rundown about your background and kind of just let everyone know, where you come from.
Do that. So my name's Tyler. Been here down here in southern Utah. My family moved here in '96. I originally grew up in Wyoming, a little tiny town, about like 1,200 people. It's called Mountain View, Wyoming. It's right on the north side of the Uinta Mountains, which is obviously mostly in Utah, but just right on that southwest corner of Wyoming, little ranching community. So when I moved here, when I was 16, moved here for my senior year of high school, and Pineview High School had more kids than my entire town. So it was that was quite the culture shock to come down here. Not to mention it was August, and so it was just blazing hot, like today. Yeah. And we were thinking, what in the hell have we done? What are we doing here? And so I grew up there in Wyoming. We did a lot of outdoor activities, a lot of backpacking, hunting, stuff like that, fishing, a lot of that kind of rural country kid type stuff that when later on in life and you're going through a background check and they say, have you ever done anything you could have been arrested for? And you're like, well.
Define could have been.
Yeah. Get your pencil out. So.
How much time you got?
Yeah, it was it was a fun childhood for sure, growing up there. And cold right at the base of the mountains. So wildlife is awesome. Outdoor activities are awesome. And so it was fun, but then my mom and dad, they split up. They got divorced when I was 16. Well, first they separated, then eventually got divorced, and that was what brought us down here to southern Utah in the first place. So came down here with my mom and my 3 sisters and my brother, who my brother, and I finished high school down here. Played baseball as a baseball player. That's probably how most folks in town here kind of knew me, was just as a baseball player. But
and then what year did you graduate?
So 98.
Okay.
I graduated in 98. So I was just here just the 2 years. And then, did that. Kind of, like we were saying earlier, we're both from Dogtown there.
Yeah, Dogtown,
Washington, which we were only a few blocks away from each other. But I didn't know you. Well, you were a few years younger than me, too. I was closer to your brother's age. But, kind of knew of your guys' family and everything, but which is kind of crazy. I was thinking about this too, like I said, knew your brother more, but like I had no idea like the family life that you guys had.
Yeah.
And Adam was such a good guy. You never would have had any idea what was going on with him. And then I obviously relate to that a lot of with my family. Kind of home drama, but
kind of our dad's situation. little parallel.
Well, yeah, for sure. And then I came here, did graduated high school here, went on a mission to LDS mission to Argentina.
Okay.
So I was speaking of Spanish to the girl here a minute ago.
I didn't know.
I felt like I was better than her, but. Well, so I did that, which was obviously a pretty cool experience. I think for young kids to go and do something like that, and learn to speak Spanish, which has been pretty huge in my life. Ever since then, that's been a pretty massive tool for me to be able to do in some of the different careers I've had. And it's been pretty fun to keep up on, and it's always a fun party trick, and also just good for life too.
Well, you just bust that out and start nacho taco burrito everything.
Right. But tell you a quick side story. When I was going through field training, we'll get to that. Let's back up for a second.
Yeah, let's
so
back up a little bit.
I come back from my mission. I went to college. I played baseball through college.
Dixie?
Yeah, I played at Dixie State College.
Okay.
It was Dixie State back in those days. I don't know what they call it now.
They're changing
it all the time.
Yeah,
but,
UPS or something.
I do like the buffalo though. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Little bison.
Yeah, because where I was from, my mascot in Mountain View, Wyoming, was that we were the buffaloes. So
okay.
It was.
It's meant to be then.
Yeah, it was meant to be. I like the trail. I don't know what that has to do with the Trailblazer, but
I don't either.
But it's a cool mascot.
It's like they just threw darts.
Yeah, it's like what's an animal that's in somewhat of this vicinity? You know. Yeah. I guess they got them over the Henry Mountains. That's pretty close.
Well, and I think they're doing a Grand Canyon. I think there's a bunch of them down the Grand Canyon. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen that.
So you can sign up to hunt them, and I could be wrong, but you can hunt them, but all the meat goes to the native Indians.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think you get to take the hide. I'm not sure. It's something like that.
Well, that's pretty cool.
They do a thing. It's almost every year.
It's got to be an Arizona tag then, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, when I was down there, we go to Lake Powell every July with my wife's family, and we got some great footage of me last year putting the stock on some desert bighorns. My father-in-law challenged me that I'm going to go get close and take a picture, and he's like, "You're not going to get close to them, please."
You're tugging on his tail.
Yeah, I'm wearing board shorts, and I got my phone, and I got to 30 yards.
Oh, jeez. About enough to wrangle one.
Yeah. So yeah, it was cool down there. Hadn't seen those down there before, but we saw a bunch of them, which is pretty cool. Seeing them down there on right by the water and everything. But
that's cool.
That one was your fault.
Yeah, college. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I played baseball in college. I went to to Dixie for 2 years. Then I went up to SUU in Cedar City. Got my bachelor's degree up there in criminal justice, and minor in Spanish. Which, side note, don't ever get a degree in criminal justice. Absolutely worthless. Okay.
Unless you want to be a cop, right?
You don't need it to be a police officer. Yeah. So there's no job that you have to have that degree. You know? So
it's a degree.
Don't do it, kids. But it's a degree. So I went from there. I got there towards my senior year, and I was just burnt out on college, man. I was so done with school. I'd been dating my wife all through college, and she dumped me. I didn't keep an exact count, but it was somewhere between 27 and like 35 times.
I mean, I could see why. She's pretty prestigious family around here.
Not that I'm still bitter about it or anything.
I'm glad you've gotten over it.
Right, definitely got over it. But so we got married between my junior and senior year of college, and then I just was just so done with school, and I was working this just terrible concrete job up there, doing basement walls.
Okay.
Up there, just freezing in the winter, hot all summer, just concrete jobs are those jobs that make you want to go stay in school,
Yeah.
But I was just really struggling, and I had this good a friend of mine that he had served in the Marine Corps, and then had worked for some other government agencies, as they say, after he did that, and then he was actually medically retired because he was wounded in the early stages of the war in Iraq. Okay. So he came back, and he was from Cedar City. So I met him and got to know him just that year or so I was there, and he set me down talking to him one day and telling him how I'm just done with this. I'm going to go enlist in the Army, man. I'm done with all this school, and he just set me down and was like, "Look, Soup." Now, I don't know if you remember that. That was my nickname all through college, high school and college, was Soup. Obviously last name's Campbell, but he says, "Look, Soup, you're going to finish your degree, and then you're going to go in the Marine Corps as an officer." And I was just like, "Okay,
yeah, if you say so."
That sounds like a
Nostradamus.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So I did that. I went and looked into that a bunch, and I had no idea at that time what a turning point that was in my life to have my friend Patrick, point me in the right direction and say, "Hey man, this is what you need to do."
Yeah.
And him obviously knowing me a little bit and my personality and everything. And
well, at the time, what did you think when he told you that? Were you like, whatever? Or
no,
were you like, yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it was more like okay, like that sounds like a better plan than what I had,
You're a smart guy.
But then I looked into it after that. I started looking up, officer candidate school and and what the qualifications were and everything. And so I applied to officer candidate school, which I didn't know at the time was hard to get into. And it was pretty competitive to get into that. And I luckily I had good grades, and I had done a lot of extracurricular activities, and so I got in on my first try. I got accepted to go to officer candidate school, and so I just after our first anniversary, I went to officer candidate school in Virginia and took a beat down for 10 weeks, but I didn't quit, and I became a Marine Corps officer, served in the Marine Corps, it was...
So now when you're married, does Chantel go with you or does she stay here? How does that work?
So it just depends where you're at. So your initial training, that initial selection training for officer candidate, which is what officer candidate school is.
Okay.
You're by yourself. That'd be a little bit more like a enlisted guy going to boot camp or something like that. And then after you graduate officer candidate school, then you get commissioned to second lieutenant, and then you go to the basic school, which is also right there in Virginia, and that's where they actually, teach you to be a Marine Corps officer, a lieutenant. The officer candidate school is just to see if you can hack it, to see if you can, if it's I think they always say it's a 10-week job interview to see if you've got what it takes, And I remember our gunnery sergeant Lorette, who I was pretty sure wanted to kill us, and he was scary, man. I remember him just yelling at us on the very first day and telling us that they have no quota. He's like, we have no quota here. He's like, I'm going to do everything we can to make you quit.
I don't care if none of you.
Yeah, and he does it because he's a gunnery sergeant. He doesn't. If we finish, he has to salute us at graduation. And
he ain't gonna do that.
He's not gonna do that.
You.
Right. And so it was as advertised, man. It was brutal. It was. Probably wouldn't have the attrition rate of like some of the special forces selections and stuff like that. But as far as like just the initial one, it was pretty high. I mean, we had started with about 70, 75 guys, and I think we only graduated from our initial class like 25 or 26.
Wow.
We had a few like rollbacks that had maybe been injured or something like that that came in, but of the original guys, it was probably almost about 2/3 probably.
And you went through first time done.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I almost got sent home. I got cellulitis in my leg while I was there, which is that's like a bacterial infection.
Okay.
It's real nasty, and they didn't know if it was from a bug bite or even just a cut. It could have been, and it just gets infected. Yeah, even you could have a cut, and it was right on my thigh, and it just we'd been out doing a bivouac, which is the Marine Corps term for like a hazing camp out. Okay. We'll call it, right? So we got back, and I just felt this thing on my leg, and we get back, and as soon as we get back, they love to do this to you. Like you be out somewhere doing something terrible, you come back, you're gonna go shower, right? And they'll say, drop your stuff, and we had that time they had us drop our pants down to just our little running shorts, and then put our go fasters on, and then we went for like a 5-mile run.
Yeah. Hey, we're calming down.
Yeah, everybody relax. Put your tennis shoes on.
Get in a line.
Go fasters on, and 5-mile run, ready to go.
Jeez.
And so I look down, and there's this red circle on my leg, and I just so I kept running, but as I ran, it's just throbbing like crazy. And I get back, and one of the instructors saw me when I got back, and he's yelling at me, what the fuck is that on your leg? It was my fault, like I don't know.
Why would you do that?
I don't yell. And so, anyways, long story short, they take me down to the med bay there, and turns out I have the cellulitis, and they take a marker and draw a circle around it.
Yeah.
Next morning, I wake up, and it's like the size of like a football.
Oh, my gosh.
And so they would take me back in there, and they give me all these antibiotics and everything, and they put me on bed rest. They made me sit in this rack for like 2 days.
And you're like, I love to do this.
Yeah, well, except they ain't let you sleep.
That's what I was going to say. They're just torment.
Yeah, they're just going to run by, kick the rack anytime you're trying to sleep or anything like that. And it just, plus you just feel like dog crap because you're like, everybody else is doing this stuff, and you're like,
well, it's like more of a punishment.
Yeah, it is. And you don't want to ever be seen as that guy who can't pull his weight, the guy who can't hack it, and so did that for a couple of days until it started to come back down, and then they put me on light duty for probably 2 more days, where I could go to all the I did all the classes and everything like that. I just couldn't do any of the physical stuff.
Got you.
Then they go in there and they lay me down, numb up my leg, and they pop that thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so they like bring in like a camera and they're like videoing. I'm pretty sure I'm on the safety briefing at Officer Candidate School. And they popped that thing and it was nasty. And then I just have to go back every day and they essentially repack it. And I was able to kind of get through. And there was this, I could start doing the stuff again, but they want me, going in the water and stuff really. But there was this test that was coming up and we're in the second half of this, I'm grinding and I only got like probably a few weeks left and I do not want to get rolled back, and so there's this,
roll back means start over.
Well, it can be, you'd have to, and that's the thing about it is if you get sent home for a medical thing, like you have to start over again at day one. They'll let you come try again. Whereas if you drop on request or DOR, then you're done. Yeah, which that's like a big difference with Officer Candidate School is when you go there after like the first, I can't remember if it's like 2 weeks. I think after that, if you can just quit. Okay. You can just say, hey, this isn't for me, and you can just quit. And it was crazy, and that was how the vast majority of guys left. Was that just just change their mind, and then you get a lot,
which is the point,
right?
I mean, weed those guys out, kind of
for sure, And one that I remember was that there were some guys who were studs, like way better at PT than me. Yeah. And I remember one of the things that they would do. This is kind of messed up. When we go for a run, like with Marines, everything is a competition. Everything. If you're doing it, it's a competition. Yeah. And so we go for a run, and every time you pass somebody, you would yell, "Kill!" Like as you passed them, as if you just took their life and absorbed their soul into you to make you stronger, right? Yeah. And so I remember this one guy. He that's why he quit. That's why he said he quit. He just the idea of fostering violence, I guess, was like too much for him to handle, and he just decided that he was not into that, And
kind of
which
a
is kind of
funny,
yeah. It's kind of funny. It's kind of the
like to get on the wrong bus or what? How'd you get here?
The job description is locate, close with, and destroy the enemy.
Right.
Did you not read that?
Someone yelling "kill" at you gets in your head.
Yeah. So
sorry. Get you
So I had this cellulitis, and there was this. I did go to the corpsman every day. And they wrapped me up, and there's this one event that was like a required event, and it's called the endurance course, and it's just this run through the woods with all these terrible obstacles that you have to do, and it's just grueling. I mean, I can't remember exactly how many miles it is, but it's probably at least 5 miles, and you got all your gear on, so like your boots and utes, you got a H harness with water and an assault pack and your helmet and your rifle.
So you're 40 pounds. What do you think? 30?
Yeah, that assault pack's probably maybe like 30 pounds. But yeah, with your water and everything. Yeah, you got to
not cuffing some weight.
Yeah. So you take off, and it starts with the obstacle course. And the thing with the officers is you have to. It's like whatever you expect with your Marines, like you got to expect like double yourself. That's kind of the mindset of it,
Yeah.
And so when the Marines, if they're going to run the obstacle course one time, then we're going to run it twice. And so that's how it starts. You stage your stuff, you run the obstacle course 2 times in a row, and then you pick up your gear and you take off. And I think if I remember correctly, it was like a 90-minute drop dead time. You had to finish the whole thing in like 90 minutes, and you're just hoofing it through the woods. And then there's just these obstacles there, and you crawl through the mud, crawl through the culvert, do the zigzag logs.
And it's like roped off, like where you're going.
Well, they have it marked. Yeah, it's a trail, okay. And then they have a lot of the portions along the way. They have instructors there,
okay,
kind of guiding you along the way. And there's a lot of people doing it too. So
sure.
I mean, for the most, hardly ever would you ever be by yourself. Yeah, and in any points where there was like a significant left or right, there'd be somebody there. But for the most part, you're kind of following essentially the people in front of you, and it's a staggered start, So,
okay, I'm with
you.
So
they do that, and anyways, you get going, and then like cargo nets. I mean, the ropes up and down the hill, which is kind of cool, where you go hand over hand up the hill, and then you go over and down the other one, and there's a bunch of those, and And so the last thing is this. It's this big. Well, there's two parts. There's a water portion called the Quigley, which is kind of famous for officer candidate school, and it's all it is a muddy ditch.
Okay.
For us ranch kids, it's a
that's all it is. Yeah, rain day.
Yeah, and you go through that, and you got to keep your weapon clean, and then there's this big ford at the end where you got to walk through, and as it gets up to about chest depth of water, and you go through it to get through. But yeah, I remember too. By this time, it's like November, and so when we started in the morning, they're breaking the ice off.
Yeah.
So it's freezing cold, and anyway, so I had to do this to graduate, and so I still wasn't supposed to be in the water, and so the drill instructor had sent me back, or sent me over there to get see what they said about it, and I come back and he says, "Hey, what they say?" And I'm just like, "They said I'm good to go.
Good to go." You're like, "Ain't stopping me."
Yeah, so we're good to go. So I go and do the whole thing, and I get done, and I finished everything, and you get back, and they send me back down there to get that thing cleaned up, and the corpsman was so pissed at me, and he's just like, "If you're just going to do it anyways,
yeah,
and why didn't let me know? And I could have bandaged it better, like."
And you're like, "You didn't think I was going to?"
I was like, "What did you think was going to happen, man?"
That's funny.
So
then from there,
so from there, then I went to the basic school, which is about 6 months long, and that's where it's a ton of classroom time and then a ton of field time, and you're learning how to be essentially a platoon of infantry platoon commander. As they say, all Marines are riflemen, and therefore all Marine Corps officers are infantry platoon commander, or officers essentially.
Yeah.
Learning those skills, and then you do that. And it's just that's where you really learn, how to be an officer, and it's kind of cool because it's like being in a college atmosphere, but then also you spend a ton of time out in the field doing stuff. So it was pretty fun, but stressful too because you still got that performance held over your head where if you don't perform, you could get sent down the road. So
yeah. Pretty physically demanding.
Yeah,
classes,
it was physically demanding, but not like officer candidate school. Like it was
because you're gonna get through it.
Yeah, you get through it, and there was evolutions that were pretty tough, but it's a ton of classroom time as well.
Okay.
And then defensive. We call it the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, which is the MAP. And you do a lot of that kind of stuff. That's when you actually do the rifle range and the pistol range. You don't do and the swim qual. You don't do any of those at officer candidate school, whereas like enlisted boot camp, you do those things as part of that as well.
Okay.
So you don't actually shoot till you go to the basic school. So we're going to do Hogan's Alley at the FBI Academy, which is right there on Quantico as well, which is kind of cool if you're doing like urban type scenarios. And so it was pretty fun, but it was also stressful. And then for your previous question you'd asked me, so Chantel got to come out for that one.
Okay.
So we lived in Woodbridge, Washington, and we only had one car, and so she'd drive me to the base in the morning and take her like 30 minutes, and then it would take her like 2 hours to get back home because of the traffic. So that was her intro to that. But
and no kids yet.
Yeah, no kids yet. We didn't no babies there. And then after that, about I can't remember exactly. Towards the latter third of the basic school, you actually get your MOS, so what your job's going to be.
Okay.
They have you fill out this wish list throughout your time. You're learning about the different jobs and everything, and you put down I want to be this, then this, and you put one through. I want to say it's like 21 or 22 officer MOSs in the Marine Corps.
Oh, okay.
So you put down what would you want to do, and then you revise that a few times during your time because maybe you learn about this other one. You're like, oh, that's pretty badass.
Right.
That one moves up on your list, or whatever it is. And so I did that. I had artillery as my number 4, and I got artillery.
What was one?
I had the military police.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and didn't get it. So
so number 4.
Yeah. Okay. So I had, and it was pretty. I had. I can't remember the exact order, but I pretty much had all the military police and then all the combat arms, which is infantry, tanks, AAVs, artillery.
Hands on.
Yeah,
in the dirt.
I wanted to do something. So
makes sense. I could see that.
Then it gave me supply or something like that. I would have just cried. So so then went from there. Went out to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where That's where the is the Army's artillery base out there.
So I've been there.
Oh,
My
really?
oldest
Okay.
brother was in the Triple Deuce.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we went out there when he graduated.
Cool.
So I've been there.
Yeah, so that was they had to have a Marine Corps detachment there.
Okay.
So it was like you had like 15 Marine Corps lieutenants and then like 200 West Point lieutenants. Because it's actually an Army school,
Right.
And so we went to that school with those guys, which was kind of my first interaction with mixing in the kind of the camaraderie, but also brotherly poking of the Army and the Marine Corps. So that was pretty fun. So that was pretty long school too. That was like about almost a 5 month or 5.5 month school. Artillery is a lot of going down. I need to. There's this whole section of it called battery, which is the calculation of the artillery data for the artillery rounds. And I remember sitting in there going, man, I need to go find my high school geometry teacher, Mrs. Banks, and apologize to her for being such a shithead in class.
Never going to use
this.
Never
going to use this. Tell me one job you're ever going to use this.
Artillery.
Yeah, artillery. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
So it went there. And so Chantel didn't come out to that one with me. She came back to St. George.
Okay.
And then I was just by myself for that school, and then and from there I got stationed in Tornado Palms, California, with 3rd Battalion, 11th Marines, which is a awesome Marine Corps artillery unit, and we got the playground of the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center in Tornado Palms to just do whatever we wanted.
That's awesome.
So we got to do a ton of training. We had a lot of grateful I got out there. A lot of people. The Tornado Palms is not. I don't know how I describe it. It'd be like the. Like you go to different gyms, right? And you have like the gym that's got the juice bar and all the cool cardio equipment, and it's like sweet and fancy, and it's
like the Air Force.
Yeah. And it's like, and then you got the garage gym that's just nothing, and it's like, that's kind of what Tornado Palms is, but like if you want to train and you want to get better, that's where you want to go.
Got you.
And so you may not have all the amenities of being at Camp Pendleton or out in Camp Lejeune, being on the beach or being, around civilization. But if you want to train and be able to practice your job, that's the place to be. So
yeah, and I could definitely see that's where you would want to be, I'd imagine.
For sure, yeah. It was, and so we had fun out there. I had some really good friends that were all my lieutenant buddies that were out there with us. They were all single guys, so it was like Shawnee inherited like these 5 brothers, and they were over at the house all the time. We bought a house out there, which when I would deploy, I'd rent the house out to the other lieutenants in my unit.
Oh, nice.
And so it was kind of this revolving
Was
house
it 4
there.
brothers or 4 kids?
No,
was she parenting you guys the whole
probably,
time?
She was definitely
we'll have to have her on and ask her about
the voice of reason. One funny story was, you didn't meet him, but I know he's bought a couple holsters. My buddy Josh has bought some holsters from you, and he was out there with me. And out there, we had this great Dane named Roxy, and we're having a barbecue over the house. And Shawnee comes outside, and Josh has just got this beer turned over, and Roxy's just slurping up this beer. And Chantel, she just goes, "Roxy, what are you doing? We're Mormon."
You can't do that. You can't do that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I got some really great friends out there, and they loved us a lot, and loved Chantel as well, which was pretty cool for her to have a little bit of that support system, of having some people to be around her, look after her stuff. So then that was when when we got out there, she was pregnant with our oldest boy. So my oldest boy was actually born at Tornado Palms at Robert Bush Hospital there in Tornado Palms. So
is that on the base?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
cool.
Naval Hospital right there at Tornado Palms. So that's pretty cool. It's kind of a little cool for you. You should go through life and, hey, where were you born at? And
so my wife, my father-in-law was in the Navy.
Okay.
And she was born. Now I have Hill in my mind. Yeah, Hill. I think it's Hill Air Force Base. Yeah. Wasn't it Hill Air Force
Yeah,
Base?
it's up in Salt Lake. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the same thing that she goes through.
Yeah.
She's like, no, this is where I was born.
Yeah. So his on his birth certificate where it says city, it just says the acronym for Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center, Twin Palms. That's what it says.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah. So that was pretty cool. So it was, just at that time. So this is like 2005 to 2008 was those times there as far as where we're at in history. So I mean, the op tempo at that time was hot. I mean, it was full-fledged Afghanistan and Iraq, and so the guys were deploying all the time. And then when we weren't deployed, like we're in the field training every week.
Yeah,
I mean, it's literally almost every single week. I think the first year I was in the fleet, I can't well, I guess it was probably like over 20 field ops that were like longer than a week. So a week up to like a month.
Okay.
That you were out in the field.
Yeah.
And so
you're not coming home.
Even when you're out, you're home, you're still gone all the time, So it was, that was I guess a wake up to this is what the life is going to be like, at those times when you're at wartime. And so, so we did that. And then we, got to go. My first deployment, I went to Okinawa, which was, I guess, kind of gives a little bit to that mindset of Marines too. I mean, you might as well just put us in timeout. I mean, that was the worst thing.
Okay.
Like all my buddies are going to Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're going, why the hell are we going to Okinawa? And they're like, it's beautiful there, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Okinawa, but we actually, I mean, it was cool. We had a lot of fun, and we felt like we were on vacation, and we screwed around a ton, and but also got some really good training in too, which was pretty cool. Got to see some of that culture over there. Got to go to mainland Japan. I got to go to Tokyo.
Yeah.
They cut us loose in Tokyo for 4 days.
That's dangerous.
I'm like, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah, who okayed that?
This is a terrible idea. My captain at that time, I don't know. I've lost touch with him. I'm not sure where he's at. I know he picked up Major just shortly after I got out, but Captain Fisher was an awesome guy, and he gave me a good piece of advice one time. He said, if don't worry about your Marines behaving. They're not going to, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't even stress about that.
So that was always
I guess he proved that too. He's on 4 days Tokyo.
Yep,
Knock
here we
yourselves
go.
out.
So we did that. Got home. I only had about a 4 or 5 month turnaround, and then I went back, and then I went to Fallujah, Iraq with 3rd Battalion, 3rd Marines, which is out of Hawaii. We got attached to them as the artillery liaison officer. Okay. So it was we ran all the indirect fire assets for the battalion, and so
Fallujah's hot.
At this time it was, but it was kind of in a lull. It was a bit of, this is post Battle of Fallujah, which was like in 2004, and then if you ever hear about like the like 06 and stuff like that, and like in that Ramadi area. So you got the Tigris and Euphrates rivers that come out of Baghdad, and they run up to there's like Haditha Dam in Ramadi, and it goes past Fallujah first. That whole area was pretty wild in those couple years before then, but they'd been sufficiently.
They heard you were coming.
So
they're like, "Oh, dude, old soup's coming.
Yeah, watch out now. We better keep our heads down." No, I was not a door kicker. I was an artillery officer, so it's always funny. I have I had a buddy one time who talked about how you can never verify what people say they do, or it's really hard to, but it's just the way you hear people talk sometimes. There's certain little flags that make you go,
I don't know.
I don't know about that, but so I always just, I'm like, I'm never going to be that guy. I had a job. My job was pretty interesting. It was cool, and I did it the best I could, and that's what it was, and so, it's just I'm always just like. I always am like, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. That guy. And
we've talked about that.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy who's, and then so I had this other buddy that I met later on in life. We had this inside joke where we would, when people would ask us what unit we were in, we'd say Ninja Battalion. What unit did you serve in? I was in Ninja Battalion, bro. It was real. It was real, man. Because
Can't talk
if they were
about it.
full of shit, they'd just be like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that sounds
the
awesome."
the black guy, the black one.
Yeah. And if they weren't, they'd get the joke and they'd laugh, So
That is funny.
That's a Ninja Battalion. So I got a T-shirt. I don't know if you've seen it. I have a T-shirt my sister-in-law made for me. It says Ninja Battalion.
Ninja Battalion. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so
That's awesome.
So yeah, did that, and came home from there. I was trying to get into. At this point, I came up to where I was trying to do like a B billet. So I'm getting pretty close to picking up captain at this point, and I wanted to go to San Diego and be a series commander at boot camp in San Diego, which would have been a pretty awesome job. Would have been non-deployable for a couple of years. Would have lived on a Navy base.
So how many years have you been in now?
So I'm almost up to 4 at this point. Yeah, and so I'm at like 3.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you get home, and so how they do it, they have a monitor that kind of is in charge of like your career. So the lieutenants that are getting that transition point of going to do a B billet, which a B billet would be like if there's a lot of them, but like for example, like a common one would be like a recruiter.
Okay.
Where you come out of the fleet and go, you go to some type of military school, or you go do this alternate job for a while or something like that, And so and then after that, it was you would come back to the fleet, and that's when you'd be like a company commander or a battery commander or something like that.
Okay.
So, anyways, it just kind of rotates back and forth like that. But so I wanted to go to San Diego, and there was openings for that and everything. And the monitor was, he lied to me, which pissed me off. And he told me that you had to be a grunt or a tank guy to do that job, which I knew was not true because my company commander and my XO at the time both did that as lieutenants. Picking up captains. So I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right. That's false.
That's not true. But I'm still a first lieutenant. He's a captain, so I couldn't quite tell him to fuck off yet.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Pond.
Yeah, like and so anyways, that kind of bothered me a lot, and so I'd actually being one guy that's always looking ahead of what's the next thing, and keeping my options open. I had actually applied to be a police officer in Las Vegas while I was in Iraq.
Oh, okay.
And then I got home and went and tested, and
you showed him your diploma.
Right. Showed him my sweet diploma, and I did that actually on post deployment leave. When I got home from Iraq, I went and tested at Metro, and long story short, I ended up taking that option because I was pissed about the B billet, and they were going to send me to a unit called Anglico, which I would have gone to with one of my good buddies. Which, if I was single, I would have been all over. I would have been. But yeah, I remember at this point, so Cody turned 2 years old right after I got home. Yeah, just as I got home just in time to when he turned 2 years old, and he didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even hold him. He would just cry because he had no idea. He didn't even know who I was.
Yeah, well, I bet that was...
That was ripped my heart. That was rough. And so that's why I'd kind of wanted to get a B billet where I could stay home for a little while and then go back again, because I love the Marines, man. I loved it. When I think back on what job do you miss, I miss the Marines. I loved it. I loved it fit my personality. I loved the Marines. They're my favorite people. The friends I met there and the guys I met were lifelong. My closest friends are the guys I served the Marines with. No offense to my Pineview crew.
Or me.
Or you. But, it's just like that's a shared experience that you can't duplicate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I know we'll probably get into talking about my friend John that, but he's my closest friend I've ever had, and I don't think I can ever have a friend like that again because of those circumstances that friendship was built in.
Right.
Could never be duplicated.
And that's the point,
again,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the structure they put you guys in.
For sure. And so, so then I got out, went through the police academy. I was a police officer there in Las Vegas for about 4.5 years, and then had just a life come apart, man. And we can get hit that more later, but that was just the gist of it. Was it just kind of came apart, and in hindsight, I think I should have taken a break between. I had 2 days. I got out of the Marine Corps on June 10th, and I started the police academy on June 12th.
no breaks.
No breaks. And just kept grinding, and
slept for a day, ate some chicken.
And he kept going, So, I just kind of went through a really tough spot and got to really low point in my life, and ended up walking away from that. I just felt like I had to, or I was going to lose my family, and ever since then I've been a bit of a nomad. I was in Alaska for a while and I was lost, Derick. I was lost, man. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, it was all this work I put into these two careers, and then I just walked away to do something completely start over, and that really hurt.
And you're how old?
Oh, geez. 31, 31 maybe,
my age?
32, something like that. So, I was just trying to find something, so I was in Alaska for a couple of years working in the oil field, and then I...
wife and kid are here?
Yeah. So I was up there, and so at this point we got number 2, and actually at this point we have number 3 as well. He's just...
So you had those two while you were Metro in Vegas. Okay.
Yep. And then we had number 3 by then, and then I just was trying to figure out which direction I'm going to go. And I had my uncle was working in Wyoming in the oil field out there, and he got me hooked up out there. So I ended up just taking the family back out to Wyoming, up in Douglas, Wyoming, and I worked up in the oil field for about I guess I was only there about 3 years, and then we'd always, my wife born and raised here,
right?
Whole family and roots are here, and so she,
the Garretts,
wanted to come back. We always wanted to come back because I love it down here too, and I just don't have that sense of home like she does. I just don't have that pull in my heart. There's no place that just pulls my heart like Southern Utah does her.
Right.
And so,
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever leave.
Yeah. So it was, had an opportunity to come down here, start working with her brother a little bit. And then she had started working for this company. And so we figured we could do it with us both working, because that's, as you know, down here in Southern Utah, man, the job market can be tough sometimes if you don't own your own business.
Yeah.
It can definitely be tough if you're just trying to live down here by working construction jobs or stuff like that. You're gonna struggle.
Up and down, it seems like,
for sure.
And single income is hard.
Really hard
down here. Yeah.
Especially we all know teachers and stuff down here, and a teacher by themselves almost couldn't even afford to live by a house here.
Yeah, especially right now.
Where it's just crazy, and as it's been in years past. But so we've been back here for about. I guess we're almost coming up on 4 years we've been back here, and we're doing good, man. The boys are growing like crazy, man. Cody had a little panic moment the other day. He walks through the kitchen, and I thought he was taller than me. And I'm like, whoa.
Can't be having that.
Whoa.
He's got some good genes for that, though.
I realized he's got his shoes on. I was barefoot. I'm like, whoa, okay. I still got you.
Knock him down to size a little bit.
Yeah, so he's doing good, and
how old's he?
So he's 15, just turned 15. About he's 6 foot tall, 15 years old, and he's been playing volleyball and crushing it.
Okay,
doing great doing that. Then my middle one's 11. He's 11, wears a size 10 shoe.
Good heck.
So
he's gonna be bigger than you.
Yeah, he's probably bigger. I think they all will
taller.
be. Yeah,
he'll be
taller and bigger. And then my little man's 8. And just active boys, man. And that's the thing, like, that we talked about all the years that we were always talking about getting back here. And just for the boys to have that Southern Utah kind of community of boys and friends and stuff, where you got these neighborhoods, and my little one, they're just running like feral dogs around this neighborhood, and it makes me so happy.
I was gonna say, because that's kind of rare now.
It is, and that's sad. It's like that is really sad. Even it's changed over the years, but I mean, when I was growing up, I had very minimal adult supervision.
When we got me and my 3 brothers together, it was like we got home when we got home, type of thing.
And it was, that's not always maybe the best option, but.
I don't know, man.
But we had fun.
I'm sure you did some Sandberg Pond, hanging out at Sandberg Pond over there.
For sure.
We were always there, man.
You remember when before they paved that road?
Yeah.
And when you'd ride the bikes down that hill through that creek, and my grandma would be all mad at us that telling us to watch out for flash floods, and we're like, is it really that? Is it really that dangerous of a thing? Flash floods. We lose a lot of kids in flash floods down here.
Is that what I should be worried about?
So. No, yeah, it's just it's pretty wild to see how much this place has changed over the years.
Well, so you were here in '96.
Yeah, so I was a junior. The 96, 97 was my junior year.
So I think we moved it to St. George like 94, 95.
Okay.
And then we built the house in Washington in 96.
Okay, so been right there.
And so we're about same time coming in.
Frame. Yeah, so that's where we're at now, man. So I'm just trying to keep working and hanging out with my boys and hanging out with my wife and trying to enjoy this life, man. Just trying to find that niche of peace and happiness and just keep going along because I think I think I just want to enjoy this time that we're young and
when you got the boys
healthy,
are active.
Yeah, they're active and just I think it's so easy to look ahead and look back too much. And I know I've done that a ton of my life, and it's not been healthy for me. And
well, I'll be honest, man. Some of the times we've talked, right? Yeah. Like you were the one of the first people I told that I was having a boy.
Yeah.
Like that my wife was pregnant and we were having a son. And I thought like we've talked a lot because you have 3 boys, right? And I'm terrified to be a dad.
Right.
And we've had a lot of talks sitting down, kind of going through, and you've kind of eased me through like, okay, this isn't as crazy as your mind is making it. Right. You kind of tackle the things as they come and you move down the road.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like there's some stuff you want to talk about with your kids if you want to.
Sure. Man, I'm down for it. I think, Star, I think the thing that me and you could probably relate to a little bit is, I kind of joked about that before about how I didn't have a whole lot of adult supervision, but my mom and dad, they were there when I was growing up, but they had so much of their own personal issues that that took a while away from us a lot. So I felt like there was so many conversations that my dad never had with me. Stuff that we should have had, or it was so minimal that I couldn't even remember it.
Yeah.
Never talked to me about girls, or talked to me about finances, or talked to me about Never once did my mom and dad ask me if I wanted to go on a mission. Not one time, or if I wanted to go to college, or what do I want to do when I got older. They just
they were going through their own thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And as I look back like that, I try to put that in perspective and remember the hard think of the hard times that they were going through. But it just so when I was becoming a dad and I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't have a reference for it to look back and be like, oh well, my dad was like this, and so
True.
this is how I didn't have that example to show me how to do that, and so when my mom and dad split up here and we came down here, my siblings, I'm number 2, they kind of looked to me as dad, and that I didn't think about it till years later about how harmful that was to me.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have to be the dad.
For sure.
You should just be able to just, take care of your own self and your own development as a kid and not be worried about that, And so
I think that, I've only been doing this for a few months, right? My kid's only a few months old, but I have realized with my parents, like what you're saying is, they probably didn't know. Your parents, my parents, like they were doing the best that they could do at the time too.
Yeah.
And so you think about it, and like I had a great childhood. Don't get me wrong. When I was, senior in high school, senior in high school, my dad kind of started going downhill mentally. And I was the same way. My older brothers were gone. The Jason was around a little bit. Mike was around a little bit, but my little sister, my mom, like I felt like I was protector at that time.
Right.
Like I was the one that I had to take care of them, and financially I was helping out quite a bit. But yeah, it's like I look back on it now and I'm like, well, what's going to be those things for Will that he's going to look back and be like, man, my dad didn't this and my dad didn't that.
For sure.
And at the same time, you're like, well, I'm just over here doing my best, and I got my own stuff I'm dealing with, right? And so, I think you kind of realize that when you're older and be like, well, they are doing their best, and they are, trying to handle the situations and have stress and have everything too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, it's like one of those deals of like if a harm is intended, it hurts, and if a harm is not intended, it still hurts, just as bad.
But there's a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference behind with what's behind it, but the pain to the individual is still painful,
right?
And I think that's
a good way to put it.
Yeah, so I think when I think back of my my brother, he talks me back down. Most people knew my brother. He was a little wild as a kid, but I always laugh about that now because I say, he's the nice one. I'm the one who's kind of an a-hole, and we were talking when he mentioned that about how mom and dad did the best they could, and I was like, that may be true, but their best still sucked.
And you and I have bonded over that.
It still wasn't awesome.
Yeah.
So, I never had a curfew once in my life. I don't know if I ever had anybody wonder where I was at.
Yeah.
What time I was going to be
home. That with my mom. I mean, my mom was definitely like the rock through all of that.
That's good. And so, because like by the time when we moved, so I was thinking about this the other day. So when I moved here when I was 16, right? If I calculated from that time, my dad was pretty much gone all the time. He still lived in Wyoming.
Okay.
So if I was to calculate from then till now, which I'm 41, I bet I've talked to my dad between 5 and 7 times a year since then. So you think about how much I've changed as a person and all the experiences I've had in my life and to where I've reached where I'm at now. And the same on his end, all the trials and tribulations and things that he's gone through on his side, and we get to this point where we don't even really know each other now.
True. Two totally
different people. Two totally different people, and so because of that, we really, butt heads a lot, and get into it a lot,
which I think
to the point of being
expected,
kind of more,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
a little bit. I think it's just when you to just throw it out there. My dad struggled with drug and alcohol abuse a lot through his life, and I think a lot of shame that came with that. And I think that was his mom and dad were really, he felt a lot of shame, and it felt like he had nobody to talk to. One thing I will say about my mom and dad is that if I screwed up, I'd tell them.
Yeah.
And I would know that they would help me, and they did do that right.
Which I think is important.
Because I don't want to sit here, and you just sit here and just shit on your parents.
That's not my.
Because
we've both been respectful to
right. Because there's positive and negatives to everything, but it's just I guess right. It just seems like sometimes when you're highlighting the harms, it kind of. You don't want it to sound like that it was all that.
Exactly.
That's
why I usually preference until I was 14, 15, 16, my dad was at every baseball game, he was at every basketball game, football game, he coached everything. He was, with credit to my mom. I mean, I think my mom, I know my mom, kind of had to keep nudging him back on the path, but he was always there, and he always supported everything. And I mean, we had a lot of talks when I was growing up. I think he could have done better. Yeah. I think some of the talks that we had, he could have managed it a little better or said different things. But that's what I mean by I think he was doing his best, and he never had I don't believe that he had a great example. And so he didn't have anything to base that off of.
Right. And
so I think he was doing his best, but at the same time, your best just, not to be rude, it just wasn't that good. It wasn't when you look at facts.
Yeah. So that's been obviously I always used to talk about it and say that my relationship was kind of already established with my dad because I was older when they got in, and it was harder on my younger sisters and my younger brother. But then as I look back on that now, I think that's probably not true. I think those 16 to 18-year-old, 20, 22, 23-year-old years are huge.
Yeah.
of going out into the world and not
For
having
sure.
somebody to really, always talk to or trust. And, and there was like hit and miss through those years where we had times that was real good. And
So you were still talking to him through
yeah. It was
then?
just
Yeah.
that it was more geography than anything. And my dad was, he struggled with a lot of depression, and drugs and alcohol. You combine those things, and he would almost like kind of go into hibernation. I mean, Wyoming winters can be pretty, could pretty foster some depression,
For sure.
and so he would kind of go into hibernation. We wouldn't hear from him for months, and I'd try to text him, call him and stuff, and he wouldn't get back to me. And that even that in and of itself could be a little bit like what's up, man? Like,
I kind of need you here.
Yeah, kind of need you for something here. And but I would say just over the last years, he really he had some good years of sobriety there in the middle, and then just kind of fell off again. But he had some I want to give him as much break as I can, because he has had some trauma in his life. He's had some hard times and has had some struggles,
Sure.
and I don't want to just kick him because he's had struggles. But it just seems to what we're talking about. So he our relationship has definitely deteriorated over the last few years. I think leading up to he drank himself into a heart attack / stroke this last month, or was it actually around, I think it was about November, and
I think we had met up right
yeah,
after that.
He was in the critical care. What do they call that?
ICU.
ICU. There you go. I was about to say
Intensive
IOC,
care?
which is Infantry Officers Course.
Yeah,
So it was that. So, but anyways, I would say that to bring it back to your question, though, I think as I sit here today, the things that stick out in my mind as far as the boys is to teach them decision making. Don't just preach, commandments at them.
For sure.
Teach them decision making, and that they understand that you're going to have to make these choices on your own, and this is how you make good choices.
Right.
This is the things you need to think about when you're making choices, and because as you and I both know that they're going to go off, they're going to have to make their own choices.
Right.
And understanding that there's consequences, but and then I think the one that's really been in my mind a lot lately is because I can quick funny story. I'm giving a group ass chewing one day to all three of them in the truck.
Okay.
Right, and my little man says to me, "Hey, Dad, when you were in the Marines, is that when you lost your patience?"
You're like, I got plenty of patience. You're just at the end of it.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much. So, but I've learned that I can't. You can't just be like that all the time. It can't be all hammer.
Yeah.
Because then they're just afraid.
And that's where we were.
Yeah,
growing up.
It's just not. And it's not a good thing. They're not going to learn from that.
Yeah.
Right. They're just going to be just like a puppy cowering from getting kicked. That's not going to be helpful.
Right.
And it's like, I think a lot of times dads get into that mode of like, I have to discipline my kid and teach him. You can do all that stuff and teach him toughness and teach him resilience and all those things. But I guess the word that I would say for dads to take out as much as you can is criticism. And criticism I don't think is healthy at all.
Breaking them down.
Yes, just breaking them down. I think you need to make corrections and then encourage.
Yeah.
Encourage them that they can do this.
Two things I want to touch on. I've heard two different things recently. I think one was Andy Frisella, and he was talking about the school system, I believe. But it kind of goes back to what you're saying. We need to teach our kids. The school system's teaching kids to do what they're told, not think about what they're doing. So, like you're saying, like you need to teach the kids to have these critical problem-solving skills, if you want to call it that, so they can make those decisions when they are on their own, because it's inevitable, right? And then I might have lost my other one.
About criticism, breaking them down.
Anyway, let's move on. It'll hit me in 5 minutes.
No, but I think that's a huge one because, like, I always give this. I think it's a great analogy that if you take a baseball coach and the ground ball's hit to the shortstop, and the ball goes right between his legs, right? And you have the one coach who yells at him about the ball going between his legs. That's not helpful.
Right.
He is aware that the ball went between his legs. He saw it. He's standing right there.
Yep.
Right? So how is that helpful?
Right.
To simply criticize and point out, because in my mind, criticism is kind of pointing out the obvious. Right?
Like, yeah, I saw it go through my legs
right.
too, Dad.
Yeah, like no kidding. Yeah, thank you for that. And I don't think that's helpful. And I gotta be honest with you, that's the thing I've struggled with, especially with my oldest, of just giving him the immediate correction of you can either do this immediately or right now.
Yeah,
that's your two choices.
Right.
And so I've really been trying to do that, and I will say that over the last year or so, me really trying to focus on encouraging him and give him corrections when they're needed, but be encouraging and not criticize him. I think has been very beneficial for him as he's going into those teenage years.
Right.
So
and he's gonna be faced with a lot of those things when you're not there.
Because if we're when I think about what's the things I'm most afraid of for my boys, drugs, alcohol, girls.
1, 2, 3.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so teaching them those decision making. So when I talk to them, I say, hey man, I hope you don't drink. I hope you don't fall into that. I hope you don't fall into doing drugs or smoking. I hope you don't start getting sexually active with girls. And this is why.
Right.
And I hope you make that choice, that you can look at these things and make those decisions, because I'm not going to be there.
Right.
And if you do
when
screw
your
it up,
buddy's passing you beer.
This is why so I think that decision making and making them understand that they got to do it is I think it's empowering as well. Empowers them to hey, my dad thinks I can do this. It gives them the confidence that comes from that.
Yeah, so. I remember you're talking about being a shortstop, right? So I always played up when I played base. So my dad was big in baseball. Played softball when he was adult and everything. So all of us played baseball because that's what he knew the best. And so I've got 3 older brothers. And so Mike's the oldest and Adam is 2 years younger. So Adam would always play up with the older kids. Right. So my dad only had to coach one team, right? Or, I don't know if that's why, but he only coached one team. And then when Jason and I came around, I did the same thing. I played up into Jason's age. So now he's coaching 2 teams instead of 4. It makes sense, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
And so I remember we were out there. I always got the hand-me-downs, everything, which is fine. And I remember I made an all-star team. And so my dad went out and bought me a new mitt because I made the all-star team. So I got the new Ken Griffey Jr. mitt, right? And we're at practice the next day. And I'm playing third. I think I'm over at hot corner. And I'm playing against everyone 2 years older than me.
Right.
And
hitting rockets at you.
Yeah. Yeah, just hitting laser beams, right? And so we were at practice, and he was probably hitting balls. And so he had hit one, and I let one go through my legs because I didn't want to get my new mitt dirty, right? So I didn't want to get my mitt on the ground. And so he stomps over, rips my mitt off my hand, throws it on the ground, and stomps on it. Yeah. 3 or 4 times, jumps on it. And he's like total temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Right? I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there looking like an idiot, And he's like, it's dirty now. And he throws it at my chest, goes back hitting balls. And so like you're saying, and I think part of that is like the dad being the coach versus the coach being the coach, right? And I remember it was that same year, I'm playing hot corner, dude hits a ball, it's on the grass, and I'm trying to beat it to the grass before it comes off onto the dirt, right? And I just miss it, and it hops the grass, nails me right in the face. Oh, jeez. And I hit the ground. Rule number 1,
don't catch with your face.
Yeah. And so I remember hitting the ground, and I'm tearing up, right? It just drilled me. And I'm tearing up, and I look at my dad on third at the dugout, and he yells at me, he says, finish the play, cry later. And so I jump up, grab the ball. I'm sure I didn't throw the kid out, but I threw it over to first. But like my whole life, that stuck with me. Right. I was 8,
right?
But at the same time, I've used that my whole life.
Right, there is a little bit of a true lesson there.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to go back to was like, he probably shouldn't have yelled at an 8-year-old to quit crying, as I just got pelted in the face with a baseball. But at the same time, like through my life, I've been like, yeah, dude, this is going to suck, working 3 jobs and 20-hour days. Like, yeah, it's going to suck, but, just finish what you're doing today. Finish. Like I've always told my wife, like, I don't finish when I get tired. I finish when I'm done.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I'm working, like, yeah, I'm tired too. I want to come home too, or I want to go to bed too. But, like, I'll finish when I'm done. And so
That's good.
I kind of wanted to go back to that when we were, like, shitting on dads, right?
Right.
And, like, there was things that he did, I think, unknowingly,
Sure.
you know, that I've taken, and I'm sure my brothers have taken. And even in his, like, crazy temper tantrum.
Little moments like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's no, that's definitely true. I think you know, there's these little like I always sometimes my dad would say some of just the stupidest things I've ever heard in my entire life, but every once in a while I have these little nuggets, you know, these little nuggets of wisdom. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
You hear voices, right?
Yeah.
That's how I am.
That's pretty good. But like I think those actions too of like they're watching you. You know, they're watching what you're doing, and you know, I haven't been perfect, man. I've had some pretty significant, you know, just anger, little rage moments and stuff, and my boys have seen that from time to time, you know, and I know I worry so much about that being like a harmful thing to them, and I will say that, you know, my wife has told me before that because I talked to her about that, about how much I worry about that of
The big three.
yeah, well, the big three,
being
but
angry.
my example to them of like, yeah, I want to be a good example to them, but there have been times I've been a bad example, and that harming them, you know, and that they carry that on, and I, you know, as a childhood, you know, wound, you know, like you said, like you know, about your dad and the glove. That's harmful for a little kid, man. That's embarrassing. That's a humiliating thing.
Scared.
Yeah.
He rips it off my hand.
For
Like
sure.
the whole thing's aggressive, right?
Yeah. So you know, she makes me feel a little bit better about of saying like, well, that might be true, but she's like, on the other hand, they also see like when you mess up that you own it and you come back and talk to them and you apologize, and they see that as well.
Because you're not perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing your best.
There's
right?
nothing wrong. You have to come back and admit when you're wrong, apologize, and then, you know, try to move forward and do better, you know,
and with that similar backgrounds that we have with dads, right?
yeah. Well,
We've had these talks of like, dude, who am I going to be to my kid?
Right.
You know, and how do you deal with these things? And I remember talking to you, dude, and I'm like, I'm terrified. I'm terrified to even have a kid, let alone a son now that I have to teach everything to. And yeah, we've gone. That was the first time I was like, we've got to get a microphone in front of us. And this was 2 years,
probably a couple years
ago. Well, I guess it'd be a year ago when we were pregnant. Yeah, but
yeah, no, it's fun though, man. The older they get, they're funner. You know, they kind of like having dogs, but they do cooler tricks. You teach them cool stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And like these little clones, you know, and you teach them whatever you want.
I was talking to my buddy Alex Stout the other day, and he said he quoted Tim Allen in Last Man Standing.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I've known this guy that I've worked with longer than I've known our youngest daughter. And they were like, the youngest daughter's been born longer than you've known this guy. And he's like, well, she only started being cool until she was 4, you know, and so I've only known her since she was 4.
That's funny. We're out shooting the other day, which, you know, we all have been not shooting as much as we want to lately.
Yeah, it's like throwing gold out there in the hill.
You know, I've kind of, all my boys got set up, you know, and so might not be a responsible parent, but, you know, my 8-year-old has a Glock 19. Heck yeah.
It's fine. If he knows how to use it, he's safe.
So, anyways, he's coming. I mean, he's not really into shooting yet. You know, I just have him for one day when they get old enough to go off into the world. Yeah, I already have him.
Both of you have a Glock 19.
Yeah, so they, anyways, we were going to go out and shoot a little bit, and so he was, you know, shooting something, and I asked him, it's his turn. I'm like, all right, what do you want to shoot, man? And he's like, cutest look on his face, and he's like, well, I know I can't shoot the AK, right? And I'm like, oh, you can shoot the AK. We'll shoot that right now.
Yeah, he's like, walk me into that one.
I'm like, oh, yeah. We'll shoot that. In fact, let's get that right now.
Yeah, load it up.
Here we go. Which, I guess it kind of goes back to the previous thing of, like, with the boys of like, when they think that their dad thinks they're they can do this.
They're capable.
Yeah, they're capable. I think that's a huge thing for boys. Of like that my dad thinks I can handle this. I had this thought the other day, not to get so regardless of what your beliefs are, take it for what it is. I've often through my life, through my ups and downs, have have a belief in God, and I sit there and wonder, like I wonder what He actually thinks of me, like if He was to sit here.
Yeah.
And this was just like a couple weeks ago. I was thinking about this of like, if He was, I wonder how I'm doing. Like I wonder if He was here today and I talked to Him.
Yeah.
Like would He be like, what would He say? Like what would He think of how I've done so far, or how I'm raising my boys and how I am as a husband?
Right. He's like, I've entrusted you with
all
this.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
And
it's all all the with faith, with our having faith or whatever your beliefs may be, but having that. I wonder what He thinks of me. And I thought about that. I thought, well, I wonder if my boys wonder what I think of them. And I thought about that for a second, and I thought that they shouldn't wonder. I'm right here.
Yeah.
And so, like I swear, I went home that day. I went and pulled my oldest boy aside. I said, "Hey, man, you're doing great.
Killing it.
You're doing awesome. Yeah, you're doing that. You're doing this. You're doing this. You're putting yourself out there. You're doing hard things. You're training. I was like, you're an awesome kid. People like you because you're nice and you're kind. And I just give him a hug and say, you're doing awesome, dude. Keep going.
That's awesome.
And I thought about that. I don't want him to wonder. I want him to know, what Dad thinks of him.
Yeah, he believes in me.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine the confidence that's putting in him
sure.
that you never had when you were that age? I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. You're in for a venture. It's good times.
Luckily, I've got a wife to kind of, like my mom was, right? Kind of bump me back on the path.
Keep you, and that's good too. Like that's what Chantel will do to me. She'll reel me back in when they piss me off, and I'm about to, about to go over the edge, and she'll reel me back in, and like, all right, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
it's gonna be okay.
You're overthinking this. You're in your head. Yeah,
so,
my wife too. I'm an overthinker
good.
For sure.
So, anyways, man, what else? What else is going on? We got.
Do you want to get into comp?
Whatever you want, man.
Walking away from the comp thing.
Yeah, we can definitely. What you want. So,
yeah, let's.
I don't know. Yeah. Whatever you try. What do you? People always ask me what it was like, when I was like, well, they'll say, hey, tell us some stories from Vegas, and I'll be like, well, you got to be more specific. Like, you want like PG, you want heartwarming.
I think
you want rated R. You want what do you want here?
I think like more of what you went through and where you were at and where you were at in your head, because
for sure.
I mean, I can never be a cop.
Right.
I guess I do things that scare me all the time, but. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm not the person for that. It's like military. I'm not sure I'm the person to be in the military.
Yeah.
Like, if it came down to it and they needed me and I had to go, I'd do it.
Right.
But I couldn't volunteer for that.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's got that little, like I can't explain. I mean, you think about this. Like, when I think about this all the time. I've talked to my wife about this. So, we just barely got married. Our country is at war in 2 different countries, right? And I go to her and say, hey, babe, I want to join the Marine Corps. 100% chance I'm going to get deployed.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And she supported me with that, And I get done with that, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do something a lot safer. I'm gonna go be a police officer in Las Vegas.
Yeah, not in St. George, Utah, but in Las Vegas.
Yeah. So she always supported me in these kind of dreams that I had and things that I wanted to do, and trying to repay that now, by being here and raising our family here so that she can be here around her family but I think when I think about that, like, why did I do that? Why did I go and can't really explain it that much. It was just like there was this pull. I just remember sitting in the cafeteria like day after day in Cedar City at the college, and they constantly had the news feed up there.
Yeah.
And what was going on, and just kind of being tired of watching that on TV, and
go do something
felt this
about
pull, and it was such a great thing for me because I always, we love our folks here in this community, and I grew up, LDS and everything, but if I'm being honest, I never really felt like I quite fit in with the crew. I just never, it was just kind of like I felt like I was, I don't know, I just, well, yeah, you would know. That if we were going to make stereotypes, like the stereotypical Southern Utah kid is kind of how'd you describe that to folks? It's it's like a surfer kid that took the wrong directions and ended up in the desert.
Okay, sure.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
Like, I don't know, but they're great people.
Yeah.
They are great people, but
Coming from Ranch Town,
Yeah.
Wyoming,
Yeah.
I mean, that is a big
it's a lot different,
big change.
and I got here and I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I thought everybody here was just soft,
Yeah.
and
most of them probably
a lot of them are,
Yeah.
I just was I was angry, and I was holding it all in, even as in that age. I was just so angry.
Well, and I think that's a huge shift for you.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're trying to figure out who you are. You're switching high schools. You're switching friends. You go
terrified, scared. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine that for sure.
Yeah. So, I get like I said, my wife supported me so much, and I go there, and when I was in college, I knew I wanted to go into law enforcement. It was one of the things I wanted to do, and I did that, and I got down there, and it's hard to put my finger on one thing, and say this was the thing that set it all off. But it was like just this,
just day after day.
Yeah, it was just just this slow downward spiral of just my emotional, mental, spiritual persona just degrading, and I just I really had a hard time. I really had a hard time being there, and my time in the Marines, I wasn't those guys out, patrolling every single day, going into houses and stuff, but that didn't mean you didn't see terrible things.
Yeah.
And have times that being scared, being lonely, being afraid, being, just those things that come in on you. That time when I was in Iraq was like the whole murder and intimidation stuff going on. Like they were pretty much in those years. It got hotter later, but there was not a whole lot of firefights.
Yeah.
They weren't even. There was like hit and run type stuff. Getting mortars shot at us, and IEDs was a huge threat.
Sure.
So those type of just the threat level 10 of pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Of just a one example that's so stupid, but I guess it's a little example of just being afraid. Like we would have to go and. So the main mission at that time was to reestablish and train the Fallujah Police Department, which had been disbanded in the early years of the.
So when you guys leave, they can.
Right, they
that's
can
the idea.
and actually have a police department.
Yeah.
So being the little officer, that I didn't have a platoon. I was just a detachment that had come from my unit to these guys. I got all kinds of just oddball jobs.
Yeah.
Hey, Lieutenant Campbell, we need you to do this. Okay.
Sure.
Sure. And it was all kinds of different stuff. But one of them was to go run a little convoy to the Takadam Air Base and get these weapons and bring them back.
Okay.
Right, to the Fallujah Police Department. And then we go in there, and then I had to do this like serial number by serial number turnover with some Iraqi dude. I don't know what his rank was.
Yeah.
But think about how stupid that is.
Yeah.
That I don't speak Arabic. He doesn't speak English. We're essentially just pointing and smiling at each other.
Okay, too.
All right. 7-9er.
Yeah.
And but what I remember about that was like we were in this big open courtyard. I'm looking around at all the buildings around. I mean, this place is just tore up, and just sitting there thinking there could be some dude, squaring me up right now, and
Right.
I'm about to be on YouTube for this serviceman to get shot in the face,
Right.
And so you're sitting there talking to this guy, but that's in the back of your mind, and you're sitting there, going, what's going on here, and so I mean, and I don't want to like overstate that as like this was like super tragic. It wasn't, but it was like that's just like a little touch of like something that should be so just normal to just do this little turnover with this guy, and in that moment, like you're in a pretty high level of stress and a little fear of like being in the wide open, so vulnerable feeling.
Right.
And you got to sit there and knock this thing out.
I mean, that's a dice roll.
Right. Like any moment, you know, catastrophic, right to the face, and that's it. And just think this is so stupid.
Yeah.
You know,
that I have to be out here vulnerable.
Yeah. So, the seeing the things that those people did to the Iraqi people was pretty brutal. I think when I was over there, and somebody would probably go back and check me, but he's full of shit. I don't know. I want to say I remember that we hit 5,000 killed between Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wow.
But I remember being in a intel briefing, and they talked about how just that year, there was something like 35,000 Iraqi civilians killed. Jeez. And holy crap, man.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And, so, you take that and you go forward and you take that, all these elements add up, and in the years later, I was talking about thought back on that time and thought, you didn't get blown up. You weren't, see your buddy dying for you, none of these things. Like, what was it about that time that left a mark on you, And I think it wasn't one thing. It was like the totality of the stress of those years. And even something like that people don't think about, just like the loneliness of being away from your family.
Sure.
Sucks, man.
I can imagine
and
that's
not being able to talk to them, and not, and being afraid and being at that fight or flight edge.
Yeah.
Just for extended periods of time is just it wears on you, man. It just wears on you over time, and so you'll go from there, jump into the police academy with 2 days off, and just shove all that stuff down.
Right.
Because it'll just go away.
Sure.
If you just shove it down there, and then get into the end, and I think I will say as far as like traumatic things that directly I was a part of, Las Vegas was 10 times what I experienced in Iraq.
Really?
In my Marine Corps time, yeah. I mean, because I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't so much directly related in a lot of stuff. It was a lot of
other
secondary stuff.
Other things,
yeah, and it's just different. Or the violence that we would see was, it was over with. It was they never have to do a battle damage assessment where they essentially go up and see the damage that the artillery round did, or the Hellfire rocket, or whatever it is. And that was pretty gruesome. You see him take a dude that got hit with a Hellfire rocket, and it's his head and his spine, and the rest of him they shovel into a plastic bag. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, so you're seeing the aftermath.
There's like different levels of dead. There's like dead, and then there's like you're dead.
Yeah, like just shredded. Yeah.
So, I think I definitely have a soft spot in my heart for police officers, because I think when you deploy, you come home.
Sure.
Right. Police officers are deployed every day. Every shift is they're outside the wire, and they are deployed. And they can, just the volume of crap that you see, and terrible things, terrible images. If you were to ask the average person, I don't know, I'll ask you, how many dead people have you ever seen in your life?
Like not in a casket?
Including a casket.
4?
Right, that's probably pretty normal.
Yeah.
Right, police officers and firemen and paramedics, stuff like that. Those guys see hundreds.
Yeah. I mean,
more than they could ever count. And if you think that doesn't affect you, you're out of your damn mind.
Right.
If you think that that is not going to have any effect on you, you've lost your mind. And so, I was only there for about a little over 4 years. And so imagine a guy that's done it for 20 or 25 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not maybe most police officers aren't going to spend all that time on the street, but you got a lot of it.
Right.
And even if you are in a detective bureau or something like that, I mean, you imagine being in the detective that gets to go and investigate the child abuse, and they get to go see that all the time.
Yeah, not even just a dead body, but everything else.
Kids is rough, man.
Yeah.
Kids is rough. And so to be, I think, that definitely wore on me. And I used to say, I used to feel real bad about myself, like kind of that, the worst hate speech is the hate speech you say to yourself.
Sure. Your worst critic.
That's the most harmful, and not just criticism, but like hate. Like I've said that in the past. Like the person I hate the most on this earth is the guy that looks back at me in the mirror, and that's not healthy, man.
Sure, I can't imagine.
That's not healthy.
You should probably get that changed.
Yeah, you should probably get that checked.
Oh, soup.
Yeah, but I used to say, that was such a weakness. Like I was such a bitch. I couldn't handle it. And no, that's not true, man. I didn't handle it. It's not that I couldn't. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't handle it, and I wasn't proactive in handling my business as far as my own myself, my own personal health, my mental, emotional, just spiritual
pack
health.
Pack it in the box and hide it. Yeah.
Yeah. So just the way that I treated my wife was and my kids was it just got to this level of, and I would say from my time in the Marines, it was already starting for sure as far as like just that emotional detachment, and which I'm not a super emotional guy in the first place, and then to add that on top of it, and then you get down there and you start doing things where you gotta do your job, man. You gotta do your job, so you don't have time to right in this moment to cry your eyes out and because this is so sad.
Yeah,
you gotta do your job first.
Finish the play, right?
And then you go cry about it later. But the problem is you don't ever go cry about it.
Yeah.
I think cops and first responders, firemen, they use a lot of dark humor and stuff like that, which I think has its place. But I think sometimes they don't ever deal with things, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people reaching out right now, and there's a lot of veterans out there and first responders and cops that are shining a light on that, trying to get. Because I think if they were to have every cop in America go see a counselor and be honest, I think we would be shocked with how many of them are suffering from some level of PTSD.
Yeah, I could understand that.
Cops, sure. First responders, firemen. I mean, even think about the emergency room folks.
Yeah.
And it's a lot, and just that stuff doesn't just go away, and so.
Well, I think it takes a special person to do all those things.
Yeah.
Regardless if you do it for a couple of years and move on, or
right.
if it's a career. I mean, my wife's in surgery.
Yeah.
She's worked in the ER. Like, I'm not that person.
Right.
Like, she loves surgery. She's orthopedic. She's a nurse practitioner for the orthopedic surgeon in town, and I don't even like to think about it because it makes me nauseous.
Right. Imagine being next to her in science class when she's doing the frog.
Right.
No, seriously, Derick, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Well, like, we went hunting.
Yeah.
She, a couple years ago, was her first time getting a deer tag, and she shot her deer, and then she was like kind of jacked to go gut it.
Awesome, yeah.
And I'm kind of like, hey, this is kind of what you do. And I'd only done it a couple times. So I'm like, this is kind of what you do. You cut here. And then she's like flopping out. Oh, yeah, that's the liver right there. Oh, flop, that's the lungs. I'm just like, you're loving this too much. But it just takes a special person to look past that.
Sure.
But yeah, it building and building and building.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody,
No.
And just like, I don't know, being an office job is probably not for me.
Yeah.
And could I do it? I'm sure I could if I had to, but it probably wouldn't really be a fulfilling and happy life for me, But no, I think that's definitely true. It's not for everybody, but as I look back now, I think I just I just didn't see it coming. I didn't understand what was going on with me, and I didn't. It just this downward spiral just let me down a road where I was just, I don't know.
But I think how you rebounded and how you reacted to it, and I think that because you went through that, I mean, I would imagine that like your boys are going to see a lot of that, and you're going to be able to walk them through times that they're going to go through.
Well, no, that's true, and I think I am cognizant of that. I think about that all the time. About how can I make sure that they have these tools that that they understand that this kind of stuff, because who knows what they're going to get into, and if they.
Well, they look at Marine dad that was a cop and knowing that you're human too.
Sure. There's definitely some truth to that, of being able to be vulnerable in front of your kids and talk to them about this stuff, and this is why I'm acting like this, is because these things have affected me, and I have it's something I struggle with, and explaining to them. And then the big thing with that is that they understand that this is not your fault. Like how I'm acting right now is not your fault, and you didn't do anything wrong. I just struggle with this because of these past experiences I've had in my life, and
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah,
I
think so. I
for
think
them
it
to
is
understand
huge,
the vulnerability.
And I've had this conversation with them, that they, for all of them, I'm like, this is what this is, but to kind of put it as far as the the way I was just no emotions. No compassion, no sympathy. My little guy falls down, scrapes his knee. I should scoop him up. You write this one down. If your little man falls down, you scoop him up, give him a little love and hug, and you were safe, man. You look, and I didn't do that at all. I'd just be irritated, like angry, like what are you doing? Like get up.
You're fine.
Yeah, stop tripping over your feet. Just stand up. Just walk. Like what are you doing? And would be like that with my wife, as far as like just she was upset about something, she would talk about how she could almost see it on my face, like I'd just be sitting there and it was almost like a light switch just turned off, like turned the emotions off, and I was gone, and I couldn't have cared less what what she was feeling, or what she was going through. I just would that was like the trigger, the mechanism of when stressed out, turn this off.
Sure. And that's how you get through it, right?
Yeah, and then you do that in everything,
right?
In every interaction that's emotional like that, and so it was. I mean, you could tell thousands of stories from Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But it's
I was just trying to get like the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the point I was trying to get to was going through all of this stuff. I think you've obviously. You're aware of it, and you're learning from it.
Yeah, and I'm still, and I'm not. I mean, by any means out of the weeds. I mean, I see a counselor twice a month.
Yeah,
which has been hugely helpful for me. I'm just trying to help me to kind of work through these questions, and it's just the weirdest thing to go back and see how this all interweaves back into your childhood, and try to actually understand yourself a little bit. I'm like, okay, that's kind of why I do that. But when I think back on that, that I didn't even recognize it was happening. I remember this one time I told I used to when I come home on the weekends, we ended up moving Chantel back here.
Okay.
After about the third time, our house almost got broken into, and in Vegas. In Vegas, and there was this our neighborhood was right on the edge of the desert there. And it was they found like a 14-year-old girl out there that had been raped, stabbed, however many times, lit on fire, right where my wife used to walk the dog.
Wow.
And so she just felt unsafe there. She was just never comfortable, never safe there. And so I ended up moving her back here, and I commuted from here for like the last like almost 3, like probably 2.5 years of that, almost 3 years of that, and that was a huge mistake. Looking back, because I took my one anchor point in my life and I removed it, and that was a terrible mistake. And that's hindsight's 20/20. But at that point, I should have came with her. I should have started, if I wanted to keep being a police, I should have started looking up here or made a move. But to be down there by myself was just a terrible idea, and it just kind of was another catalyst that kind of lead me down down that downward spiral, and I don't want to, maybe get into too much the kind of the last straw, but it eventually, just to put it into the perspective, I just got to this point where I just knew it was going to be that job or my family.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be able to have both. And I didn't like the guy I was seeing. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like how I was living my life. I didn't like my thoughts and my act. I didn't like anything I was, and like I said, I just, that's a pretty intense emotion to, how to describe that, of like hating the person you're looking at,
Yeah. Wow.
So it was, ended up, but I remember one thing that happened one time that kind of made me pause for a second and say, hey, maybe something's going on with you, was there was this suicide, this guy he jumped off, I can't remember which hotel, and he landed on the concrete right outside this little subway where we had just barely ate lunch. We were literally driving away, and this dude hit the ground behind us.
Wow.
And so when I would come back, I would, the family, we'd get together with Sean and her family, they'd always ask me, and I'd tell them funny stories and stuff like that, because there was a lot of funny stories,
Yeah.
I mean,
You're rolling up on some funny things in Vegas.
I mean, just some stuff that you're just like, laugh your ass off, But I'm telling my mother-in-law about this suicide that we went to and how we had gone up and had to get fun. There was a great video of this one. It just happened to be the camera was pointing right there, and we're getting the video from this security guy, and he's doing it where he's backing it up, where he's in slow motion showing this guy like alive, his feet hit, and then you just see his head whip and hit the ground, and it's like alive, whoop, dead.
Yeah.
And we're like laughing about it. And so I'm telling my mother-in-law, I don't know why I was telling her this story. Maybe that's part of it.
That's
part of it too. Is that
I think so.
Is that? And I look over, she's crying, and I'm just like, "What's going on? Why are you?
Wait for the end."
Yeah. And then she's expressed how she was like, she was so upset that I had to see that kind of stuff all the time, and that touched me. I mean, obviously, that your family loves you and everything, but that was like a little moment where I paused and like, man, maybe this is because I'm feeling nothing about that.
Yeah, you're so numb to it now.
I'm not feeling anything about that.
Not only that, it's like there's humor to it.
Yeah, you're laughing about it.
Yeah,
and there was this guy one time that going across the parking lot. I'm with my one buddy. We show up there, and there was just a call, but there's a body in the parking lot. And so we go rolling up on this guy and just this dude, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like that dude's dead, and it's just this like probably college age looking dude. And so my buddy, he calls to get an ambulance on the way, and I walk over there and I reach down like how you're supposed to do, touch their pulse, and this guy goes, like that, and I jumped like I was gonna be, the first victim of the zombie apocalypse. Right?
Yeah,
like
World War Z.
Oh yeah, like I jumped out of my shoes, and so my buddy there, he when he sees me jump like that, he starts laughing. So he's laughing his ass off, and now I'm laughing at him, laughing at me, while this dude is dying, overdosing on some whatever he was on, and we're sitting there, and I just really like I want to go, man, I'm sure glad nobody walked by and videoed that one.
Right.
The two police officers laughing their ass off while this dude's dying on the street, but
we can't even call an ambulance because he's laughing so hard.
Yeah, it was, but just 1,000 things like that. Just all you could sit there and you start telling stories and these. Doing
it for a couple of years, I would.
Yeah,
imagine.
Well, just because there's just the volume of it down there is there's. It was an awesome police department. I know no issues there. It was a really proud thing. I was proud of that I did, but I just, like I said, I didn't handle it like I should have, and ended up walking away from that. But yeah, it was just that definitely affected me a lot, and led to.
Well, I think it's a good thing you were able to see it, and you saw where it got to, and you were your family or your job or your family.
I wouldn't say. I think saying I saw it is kind of giving me too much credit because I got kicked in the
I know
balls,
you never take credit on anything.
I got knocked down, and then it was like, oh crap, look where I'm at, and then it was just trying to salvage my life, salvage my relationships with my wife and my kids and and just.
But do you think that a lot of that stuff, I would bet, should have happened? I mean, I think we get together in 20 years and
Yeah.
I'll have a Mountain Dew and you have a water and we can go over and you're going to be like, man, I think I went through this because
Sure.
Cody that,
Yeah.
you know, and
Well, I will say I had when I turned 40, you know, my wife threw me an awesome surprise birthday party, which I was oblivious, obviously not a well-trained observer. And it was great, you know, and I told her this because we have our anniversary and my birthday are pretty close together, and I remember we went out to dinner and I'm talking to her and I told her that, you know, this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. You know, right now this is the happiest I've ever been. And for her to, you know, tell me that, you know, that she don't think she would have understood how much she loved me had we not gone through those hard times. And for a husband, that means a lot. When you're always questioning yourself of why is this girl hanging on and I'm such a piece of crap and all those hate speeches you tell yourself. And then to have her say something like that, that was huge for to help me out. And then that was, you know, almost 2 years ago now. But then it was like this high, and then I felt like I got my teeth kicked in for the next 2 years, you know, and just really struggled this last couple of years. But I feel like I'm kind of on an upswing right now, and you know, learning that, you know, seeing a counselor and them talking to you and telling you that it sounds like they have you take these tests and everything, answer these questions and showing you how you score on them, and they're like, yeah, you have some PTSD, and I'm just like,
this guy,
what are you like? No.
Yeah.
And then it's because I didn't know what it was.
For sure.
I only had what I thought what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually know what it was, and so they explained it to me, like, this is what it is. And, you know, a lot of it has to do with, like, your, you know, to think of it like your fight or flight response, right? And a lot of, you know, guys who have some PTSD type tendencies from veterans and police officers, there's no flight.
Right.
Like, as soon as you're challenged, it's fight.
Right.
So if you think about your son get a little mouthy and challenges you to where you feel like he's challenging you, it's fight.
He's laying the hammer.
Yeah. There's no, and you know,
there's no.
I think I told you about the poor
it.
bastard walking out of Sportsman's Warehouse that I lost my mind on, and just same thing like that. He was in my space, and I felt like when he got mouthy when I asked him to back up a little bit, he got mouthy. You know, like, John, there's no flight, you know, and it's just that tendency to kind of be aggressive right away.
Well, the minimum, stand your ground.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of that. I think another thing with police officers that they don't get credit for, being a police officer is scary, man.
Yeah,
it's scary.
I mean, that's why I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, and there's
been a number of times, like, I know I'm not that guy.
Yeah,
you know?
It's some guy that, I mean, you think about, like, you know, like if me and you grew up together and we, you know, wrestled together or played sports together, you'd know me pretty well and know my capabilities pretty well, right?
Right.
So then one day we're out messing around and it gets a little heated playing some church basketball or something like that, and like, hey, we're gonna fight. You know me, you kind of got a bit of an idea of, like, okay, Tyler, if he hits me with the right, I might be in trouble, but I'm just gonna run around. I'm gonna work him around. Let me get that cardio in, you know, and then a little.
Yeah, me. Yeah.
But yeah, so you got people that you have no idea who they are. You don't know anything about them, know who they are, what their background is, if they have weapons or don't have weapons, and so it gets to the point where every person you encounter, you assume that they mean to harm you until proven otherwise.
Right.
And that's how you look at every person you ever meet.
That's how you stay alive.
And even now, like, you go to the Sportsman's Warehouse or some, you know, you meet your kid's, you know, baseball coach, and you're shaking his hand, looking at him, going,
sizing him up.
Yeah, sizing him up. Like, this guy, you know,
I could take this guy.
Yeah, right. Of just like, what would I do if this guy tried to do this, you know? And so, yeah, you have that disconnect, you know, I think from people where you kind of assume everybody's going to try to hurt you until they prove that they're otherwise, you know. And so,
sure,
yeah, I mean, that's not an awesome way to walk around every single day. You know? Which I don't know. I want to say this though. On the one hand, I don't ever want to stick my head in the sand again. I don't think that's even possible. There's bad people out there who will harm you if they think they can do it.
Sure.
100%. If you don't think those people exist, you're fooling yourself.
Yeah, you're living under a rock.
Yeah, there's people who will hurt you, and they're not going to go away because you pretend they're not there.
Right.
And so, because you have that knowledge that they do exist, you assume that that's everybody. But
yeah,
especially in certain places, it's I don't know, if you're up on Pine Valley Mountain, you can be worried about grizzly bears. No, but if you're up in the Wind Rivers of Wyoming, you can be worried about grizzly bears.
Sure.
So
my wife's trying to get me up there in a couple
so
months.
If you're running around, Washington Fields, or you're running around, downtown Las Vegas. It's different animals running around there, and people can, people believe whatever they want, so they're gonna. That's just the way it is, man. There's a reality you live in, and there's fantastical stories you could tell yourself to try to make yourself feel better. But the fact is that there is evil out there, and you need to prepare accordingly.
Sure.
Somebody said that. I don't know who, but it's true.
Well, and it's like we've talked about you training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to do, but I'm scared.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to go do that. You're going to have to break me into it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And that's I'm a nobody in that world. I mean, just barely, but I just, I'd heard a lot of guys talking about
Jocko,
how much that benefited them, and I wrestled growing up and everything, and so I'm not a total idiot on the mat, but it has been fun. It's been definitely a way to kind of to get that aggression out a little bit, but in a safe manner, and it's humbling. I mean, I sometimes think about that now and go, man, I'm so lucky that I never got my ass beat more as a kid. Because I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I knew nothing.
You didn't have to fight anyone that knew this.
I knew nothing, but luckily the guys I ever got into it with, apparently they didn't know anything either.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Luckily there's a small amount of people that probably do know most of that.
But probably the ones that do are the least likely to be to be violent.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so.
All right, man. I've had a good time.
Yeah, I feel like we could go on and on.
And I have no idea how long we've been.
Yeah, we didn't even. There's so much of your life you could touch and everything, but I appreciate you having me on. I hope you're. I look up to you a lot. I always appreciate you. Seeing you're such an entrepreneur, man, and that's something that what you with business and being fearless with business and being your own boss. I really admire that a lot because that's something that scares me.
Yeah. Well, appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyways, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you got it. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Mallory, for letting us sit down and taking your time to help us out. And we'll see you guys. I think we're going to do this weekly, so we'll see you guys next week.